Hi everyone. In this video interview, we are discussing agreement responsibility. Now, let's first start off with the obvious. Agreement is and should be a decision made within self-awareness with another human being, within the realization that both are making a decision together to make a lifetime commitment to walk this process of assisting and supporting self and each other to walk out of separation and consequence as the mind consciousness system and into physical equality and oneness, to get each other and self prepared to move into and expand to walking within and as the world as a whole, in assisting other human beings as self in walking the same process. When I'm saying the same process, I didn't mean getting into agreements. I mean the process of stopping separation and consequence, and how to walk through consequence, and within that also change, so that we can finally stop, let go of the past, and can actually create and manifest a new future that is standing within the context of equality and oneness as what's best for all. Therefore, agreement is not something that should be taken lightly. Therefore, you have got to be self-honest with yourself when you are meeting another human being. Agreements is a very practical, self-directive decision that is made to commit oneself in walking with another as self, in assisting and supporting self and the other within this process of self-realization, self-change, in stopping the mind and getting into the physical, and realizing within that that walk into that agreement is something more than just self. It is a point that one is going to walk into and stand within, that is going to walk the future of this world as a whole. Therefore, when one decides to make an agreement or walk into an agreement with another human being, whether you are or have been in a relationship with each other, whether you're making this decision alone with yourself while you're still in a relationship and your partner is not yet walking with you, or whether you're not yet in an agreement or a relationship, this point remains exactly the same. Your decision, your process remains equal and one. What is it about? It's about you walking your individual process out of your mind into the physical, and establishing and changing your living to self-equality and oneness. And therefore, whether you have someone assisting and supporting you initially in that process or not, that self-agreement must stand, must remain. And in essence, so let's say, for example, you're in a relationship now and both together agree to assert their living, their directive principle, to changing themselves into that walking process of assisting and supporting themselves and each other in that self-agreement of stopping the mind and walking into the physical. And thus the process is, in essence, assisting and supporting each other to stand within that self-agreement. Remember, the agreement is always with self, and agreement with another is exactly just that point. I assist and support me within my self-agreement, and so because we're working and walking together, we're assisting and supporting with each other's self-agreement. And let's say, for example, you're in a relationship, you're deciding to walk the self-agreement, your partner is not yet. How does your process change then? It's simply you focusing then on your self-agreement. As you're walking your process, you can facilitate your partner slowly but surely in assisting and supporting them as you in the walking of your process, not enforcing change, not inflicting change, not demanding change. It's simply considering that they're at a different point or stage of their life, of their process, and therefore, in terms of assisting and supporting them, you first have to assist and support yourself. So you'll only assist and support them with what you have walked yourself in your own process of writing self-forgiveness and self-corrective application. And so you slowly but surely walk yourself, and so walk with your partner. If you're not yet in a relationship, then the point remains the same. You walk your self-agreement. You stick to assisting and supporting yourself, in thus preparing the road before you to be able to walk with another human being. And whether they're initially with destiny or not, your self-agreement point must remain stable, standing, that this is what I'm walking. And obviously you must share, open, and lay it out on the table for your new prospective partner, that this is who I am, this is what I'm walking, this is why I'm walking it. If you're not yet ready for this, it's okay. But realize that this is what I stand for and as. And I will be here to facilitate and assist and support you in your walking of your process. But you must always remain directive in not accepting and allowing you to compromise yourself within your individual process if your partner initially does not walk with you. So remember, what is that point? That point is self-agreement. The self-agreement of assisting and supporting yourself to walk one out of the mind, out of consequence, walk through one's current manifested consequence, and within that process change self, transform self to become the living word of what's best for all as equality and oneness. And so agreement is true human beings walking within that self-agreement. That is the absolute manifestation of agreement. So within this, realize that what we're walking in this process is not something that is wishy-washy, meaning one cannot simply go out there and look for random people to start an agreement with. I mean, that's not an agreement directive principle starting point. That's not considering yourself in your own process. That's not considering process as a whole, existence as a whole, your responsibilities, your life. That's again going into relationship matrices, relationship systems. And therefore, you've got to be self-honest with yourself when you are deciding to walk this with another human being. We therefore suggest that if you are looking at a prospective partner, to before you go into agreement or make the decision of an agreement, to start an agreement. And remember, agreement doesn't manifest immediately. It's not something that is yet here. You have to actually create it and manifest it as yourself and with each other. And that takes discipline, dedication, and commitment. Because you've got to first establish your self-agreement with yourself. You've got to walk your practical process, in fact, of stopping the mind, changing yourself practically, physically, and in fact doing it, and doing it with another human being. And then eventually through that, as both and self, start disciplining and walking that process effectively of actually stopping the mind, of actually in fact changing, and that is becoming constant and consistent. There you have an agreement in manifestation. So you're going to initially walk through relationship systems. But please, the point we would like to emphasize is that when you are considering a prospective partner, you must look at that within the context of a lifetime. You must get to know the being. We suggest, if you're still considering or looking, don't jump into bed with them immediately and have sex. I mean, there are human beings that one is able to walk with, and they are few. And you've got to be specific with the partner that you select or that you decide to walk with. So trying to take it from the starting point of sex first in wanting to see through sex is not going to give you the results that you are necessarily looking for, because that being might not be the most effective fit in terms of your process that you're walking within your life experience, within your mind consciousness system, and your total position of where you are within existence as a whole. So do not attempt to try to look for partners through sex. I mean, there is already manifested consequence in this world and this reality in terms of sex. And therefore, when you have a prospective partner, what it is that must initially manifest is communication. Get to know each other. Communicate everything. Lay it out on the table. This is who I am. This is what I'm doing. This is where I work. This is what I'm participating in. This is my view on things. This is what I'm working with. This is what I've got trouble with. This is me. And making sure that that is equal, that both are sharing who each other is in totality and being self-honest about it. Okay, meaning, I'm not saying, for example, go and speak your back chat to the person, go and speak your secret mind, your demons. I mean, that's just deliberate and unnecessary, because that's the shit that you have to work with within your own individual process. So careful of that tendency of sabotaging self with another in speaking that within yourself that you had not yet directed, sorted out, changed. You only speak that which you stand for and as, and that you can walk with eternally. Meaning, you can, for example, share that I am in this process of walking my mind consciousness system. I am walking self-forgiveness. At the moment, I'm busy with self-forgiveness on what I've realized on how I have behaved towards my family, and I'm in the process of changing that, and this is how I'm changing it. That is constructive self-directive sharing of who you are, where you are, and what you're doing. So be careful of going into ego, where you want to just open up Pandora's box and share the shit inside you. I mean, consider another human being. So I'm just going to be straight direct and say, don't be stupid. I mean, be considerate and consider your own process, what you're walking, who you are, and everything like that. So always only speak and share and communicate that which you have worked with in yourself, for yourself. You lay it out on the table. You say, this is who I am. Give a basic overview of where you are, who you are, your realizations, and ask the other being to share who they are, what's their past. I mean, you can talk about your past. This was my family. This is what I've went through. These are the experiences I've had. And you can even go into, these are the realizations I've had. This is how I'm working with everything. I mean, if you're communicating from that perspective with another human being, you're already in your process of where you've established your self-agreement quite reasonably in walking your process. And therefore we say it is so much more effective just to give yourself that patience of preparing yourself to walk an agreement with another human being, to not just jump at every single opportunity that may present itself, because that's what the matrix, that's what the world system will do. That is what we're busy walking in what is sex interviews, to show you how it is that we fucked ourselves through sex and just seeing everyone as sexual potentials instead of agreement potentials. You want to have a look for agreement potentials. That is a lifetime commitment. You don't want to fuck around. We don't have time. Prepare yourself effectively. So if you meet someone, communicate. Utilize communication. Get to know each other. Spend more time with each other. Have a look at how each other live. How each other make their beds. How is the cutlery done? How is, you've got to get to know each other to make a decision, an informed decision. Can I walk with this being? That is what you have to do. Okay? Now, let's say an event does occur where you have made an informed decision to walk with a human being. And obviously you're not initially going to know the totality of each other, because you don't even yet know the totality of yourself. You don't know what's going to emerge, or what this part of you as another human being is going to show about yourself. So as you're walking, you're starting to realize that there were some points, some considerations that both didn't take note of, and you didn't realize maybe the full extent of your subconscious and your unconscious mind, and there's just these demons and these entities and these backchats and these reactions coming out, and you're starting to realize that you have not yet been fully effectively prepared to walk with this human being. Or this human being is that you've decided to have an agreement with. There's some things starting to come out that they weren't so honest about, that is starting to show itself, and it's a lot more hectic, more complicated, more troublesome than you initially anticipated. And obviously the two of you have now walked a while and you've had sex. And because, I mean, obviously, naturally, when you've decided to make an agreement, you're going to have sex and explore each other physically and develop and things like that. So, and let's say you then one day decide it's enough, it's too much, you're not ready, this is too extensive. I mean, you've got to be self-honest within your process with an agreement. If demons backchat, when I say demons, I mean your mind demons, please. When your mind demons, your backchats, your reactions, and everything starts taking over and it's getting too much, and no matter how you're applying yourself, it's just getting worse and worse and worse, you've got to self-honestly reassess this agreement point, meaning this potential agreement point. You cannot yet call it an agreement, because obviously it's not yet agreement. It is becoming the potential of an agreement. It's not becoming a potential of an agreement, it's starting to become a literal fuck-up within yourself and with the other human being. If stuff starts coming in you, and you're doing your self-forgiveness, you're doing your writing, you're doing your corrective application, but it does not want to stop, what this means as this is not where you are supposed to be. You've got to be so honest about the experiences. When you're walking with another person and it's developing into a potential agreement, shit is supposed to become more realization orientated, more changed orientated. Yes, the stuff will come up, but you work with it within yourself, you work with it with your partner, and it actually changes. If it doesn't changes and it gets worse, you are within yourself. Remember, your mind consciousness system is not your enemy. It will show you where it is that you are within yourself and your process. So you are, as your mind consciousness system, in the best way that you can, saying to yourself, stop, this is not working, get out. Then you stop the agreement, meaning the potential agreement. You stop the point, because it's obviously not best for all in terms of self and self's process and the other human being, because what you then start doing is you're taking your shit out on them, and therefore it's just compromising everything, and therefore it's obviously not cool. It's not a judgment, it's simply showing that there's some points that both didn't consider, that you didn't realize, that you first need to obviously work through and with yourself alone. And you've got some experiences to walk through and manifested consequence in your reality to come to certain realizations. Whatever it may be, this point is not where you're supposed to be. And let's say that that happens, whichever way, from the partner or from you, and it ends, and later on your partner returns and informs you, for example, that they're pregnant, or the other human being realizes that they're pregnant, and this relationship point ended, and they're now left by themselves and themselves alone. In terms of if pregnancy is involved, where an agreement relationship point ended, understand that one is still responsible for that child within that was one's partner, and the human being that was part of that relationship, that agreement potential point that had broken off, must not experience themselves as a victim in any way whatsoever, but simply communicate with each other in deciding on how they're going to take responsibility for this point. Because that being, that manifestation, that expression that is emerging within another human being's human physical body, or your own human physical body, that has been created by two human beings together. It is a creation by two human beings together. It could not have been if the two human beings did not come together and create. Therefore, it's a physical creation that's emerging, and therefore both are equally responsible. Just because you ended the agreement relationship does not mean that your responsibility now is completely cut off from that human being, especially if there is a part of you that is manifesting within their human physical bodies. So if the agreement ended, make sure that you direct that point of responsibility and include it within your life experience. It is an outflow point that has manifested as part of your process. You cannot simply ignore it. You cannot simply shove it away, hide it, run away from it. It's there. It's growing. It's manifesting. It is your responsibility, and it's going to be part of you throughout your life experience. Whether the human being, for example, assesses their life, their position, their money, everything, and whether they come to decide to have an abortion or to actually have the baby, you have got to be part of that process all the way through, because what that being is going through is equal and one your responsibility. So it is the very being that's going through it. It is your responsibility to ask for support and assistance. Do not go into victimization. Do not go into blame. Do not go into judgment. Do not go into fear. Simply realize that you're also equally responsible for this being growing within you, this creation that you're part of, that your partner is and was part of. So this is just a point of responsibility that we want to bring in terms of what we create, we are responsible for all the way through. Therefore, we say, be specific when you make decisions, and realize that agreement you must make within the context of a lifetime commitment. You must be able to stand in front of that being and with that being and make that decision to walk with them so informed, so specifically that you can do this for a lifetime. So consider consequence and realize that whatever consequence as outflows, as creations you create, you are responsible for. Take that responsibility and walk it through and see it through until it's done. Meaning, if a child is being born, you're going to have to be part of that child's life forever. Meaning, it will be a part of you throughout your existence. So, stand and be an example of responsibility within taking responsibility for your creation. This is what we're walking in destiny, taking responsibility. It is unacceptable to simply negate one's creation, one's word. I mean, that's how we've created this fuck up in this world in the first place. No one's taking responsibility. So Destonians, beings within this world, everywhere that's listening to this video interview, if you create something, realize you are responsible for it. Take that responsibility and be the change in this world as a living example. So if you are in a situation where there's a pregnancy and you've broken off a relationship or an agreement, and this is in all contexts, assert yourself, discipline yourself, stand up and be part of that human being's life and that child's life, because it is yours, it's your creation, you are responsible. It is here. There is no erasing it. Okay, that is the basic points that we would like to address in terms of responsibility within agreement and what responsibility is. and responsibility must thus come from the get-go, being responsible for the decisions I make in all contexts. Thank you very much.